was just on the bottom. Um, I didn't. This is I've used Zoom a few times, but haven't like perfected it yet. This is the first time
Yeah.
you can like upload them and stuff. It's really cool.
I just literally started using it when I started this podcast, 2 weeks ago. So I'm still, everything for me is learn as I go. And
Hmm.
I'm the editor, producer, host, booker, everything. It's
No,
pretty cool
that's
though. I
I've done a
like it.
few podcasts. They can catch up on you. A couple of my buddies after they've launched, they've gone pretty far. But this is definitely the venue nowadays, especially with COVID.
You remember Brendan Schaub, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's freaking ridiculous as far as his podcast goes. He's like,
Oh.
he's
Yeah.
huge.
I got to the point with my brother's buddy. His name is Clay Travis. He has one, and I don't really like Clay too much, but we'll see. But his has blown up. Him and Pat McAfee have really made a
Okay,
name
yeah.
for themselves on that.
I've seen Pat on ESPN and I've heard his podcast. I forget what it's called. Stop. I'm sorry, my dog. Stop.
Oh, no worries. The funny thing
Where-
is
Go ahead.
with Pat, we were both in Indianapolis, and when I jumped into the canal there at the party district in Broad Ripple, we both did the same thing. He did it a few years after me, but he did it, and everyone's like celebrating and cheering. Oh, that's the coolest thing ever! I did it, and they sent me to rehab. So, so yeah,
So how have you been? Where are you right now?
I'm down in Nashville right now.
Okay.
Doing good. Put a few deals together. I started a private equity company after I left Morgan Stanley in 2019. It's weird how these deals hit. The ones you think are like 100% home runs never close, and then the ones you like are like 1 in a million. There's the ones that are closing. So my goal is to close out these 4 projects for 2021, and then in 2022, kind of just structure some arrangement with a bigger group so I can get some more money to my projects.
Do you deal with like Bitcoin, investing in Bitcoin, stuff like that? Because I've been watching it. I put a little money in and it's like it just shot up and now it's coming back down. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down.
And I love crypto. Back in Colorado, actually, I wrote a white paper for crypto that I called Davos. It stood for Digital Authorization and Verification Operating System. And essentially, it just acted like a ledger. And the end goal was you could be able to track paper money through it. And it just, as it goes down the line, you could look back like 1,000 years and see who originally, put that money into circulation and who got it next, what they bought it for, like what they bought with it, how much change they got. Like, it's such a cool operating system you can build around it, especially as money becomes just ones and zeros and kind of gets into real time.
So down in Nashville, do you go to any of the Predator games? My buddy, he's actually the strength coach there. He's
Okay.
CU grad. He and I worked together with Doc when we were students at CU, and then Dave he was with the LA Kings and now he's the head guy. He's been in Nashville for 2004. Yeah, he's been with the team for a long time.
Yeah, no, the Predators doing well. They have COVID restrictions up right now, but I've been to a few in the past. I'm rarely down here. I'm just my parents had some issues with COVID, and I'm just trying to help my dad out until he can recover fully.
Good, cool. And then you said Indianapolis and New York too. You go all over. And have you been back to Boulder at all?
Yeah, I've been in and out. My favorite part of going back now is, there's nothing there from when I was there. It is completely different campus, and the life.
Have you seen the Champion Center, the new Doward, and even the basketball? Man, when I was there with basketball, we were talking about that freaking closet, making that into weight
Yep.
room stuff, and now it's like beautiful what they got set up there.
They have their own facility. They have a chef. They have, I mean, there's absolutely no excuse not to get your workout in there. I mean, it is what they have there now is amazing, and you're seeing the results. I mean, Coach Tad Boyle is doing a great job at that program. Kind of took them back from the brink and made them relevant again.
Yeah, and Coach Patton, do you remember? Because I was thinking, I know you were still there. Cope had pissed off Coach Patton, and this is right before practice. And he got on his knees and he just started bitching and he slammed his fist on the court and he kept it there because he broke his hand and no one knew. Yeah, and then after he come like the next day, he's got a cast on his hand. I talked to Derek. He said, "Yeah, his hand was broken. He didn't want to lift it up."
So Chris played with the Pacers and has a house out there. So we stayed in contact, especially over the last couple of years, and we were actually talking about that story. And I remember Coach Patton he got us in that circle and he goes, "Hit the ground," and Chris just kind of like taps it, you know what I mean, like ha ha ha, and then Coach Patton just rears back and just judo strikes it with his fist. And he goes, "Until you can hit the floor like that, don't mess with me." Or he didn't say mess, you know exactly what he said. And then everyone's sitting there, and I remember thinking, like, man, he's like, is he stretching or something? Like, he's not getting up real quick, you know? I'm just like looking over my shoulder. And then all through practice, he wasn't yelling and all the other stuff. I was like, I'm kind of happy he got his aggression out. This was a nice awesome practice. And then, like you said, the next day you show up, you had that little blue droopy thing. It was a white droopy thing. It was right, those blue straps. And
you remember little Derek, the trainer, right? Derek?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was telling me about it. And I was like, because he said, yeah, he broke his hand. He came and told me about it. And he was all quiet. I mean, he could obviously take pain because, man, he didn't show any reaction.
Ricardo Patton. Man, if there was like a Coach Me Too type movement, he should really, really, really watch his back because he was a tyrant. I mean,
you know what's funny though? When I was a student at Colorado, I was with Doc, and he would come into the weight room. He was Mr. Personality, super friendly, all happy to see you and stuff because he was an assistant with was it Harrington? I think that was
Harrington. Yep.
And then when I came back and I was coaching there, he was freaking Stalin dictator.
Oh my gosh.
Serious all the time.
No, he had pressure to win. I mean, he was put under pressure to win. But I mean, but at the same time, so every coach is under pressure to win. When I was there, I mean, they were talking about shutting down the basketball team because we weren't winning. And I think the president of the university at the time even said, why do we need to have a good male basketball team? We already have a good football team. You know, like we weren't a priority at all. And like, you know, just look at the facilities. Thank God that changed. I mean, the football team, you've seen their stuff. I mean,
yes.
I mean, it's immaculate and our stuff is amazing. So it's just nice seeing that they kept on par. But like when I go there, I don't even know how to get in the building anymore. Like, I got in by going down to the old entrance to the bottom, and then one of the guys who worked there recognized me, and I was like, "Is this how you get in?"
You know what's funny? It's harder to get into like the Champion Center and Coors Event Center than it is the Capitol. You know?
Oh, right now.
Seriously, you know, freaking here you go, come on in. And meanwhile, you try and get into the freaking Champion Center or something. It's like you're pulling doors and they're all locked. And I had to talk to the girl that works. I forget her name. She's the head at Dow Ward in the basement there where they got the weight room and shit now. She snuck us downstairs, took us out, and snuck us in the back way. And then we just started walking on the halls and then ran to a dude and he started showing us the weight room and stuff. And I told him I used to coach there and everything. But yeah, I couldn't get a hold of anyone because there's still like Jamie Guy. He's the video guy. He's still there. Hagen, but I couldn't get a hold of anyone. So
I always end up going to see Platty. he has his little, he's in his historic archive office, and we'll debate.
He's still there over there in the stadium part. Is his office still there?
Do you remember that secondary gym that they used to make us use sometime over
Yeah.
there?
Okay, that's right. That's where he was.
Yeah, and I'm walking in there now. I mean, that place looks half decent. Like, I mean,
I'd hope
man,
so.
they did a great job. I mean, they made it so Colorado, once you visit there a few times, or like once you visit there, it's such a beautiful, beautiful like scenery and campus and everything. And the one thing that they lacked was facilities. And now, I mean, that is not the case anymore.
So many times, like when I was a student there, talking about upgrading, and then when I was working there, when Tharp was the AD, and in his office he had all these plans, and then it wasn't until 2014, I think they finally broke ground for that part. And then what they did with the basketball, the whole separate. I never saw that coming, because I remember freaking the closet they wanted to put the weight room in, which was filled with just shit.
Yeah, everyone's always like, "Man, when you came out of college, you were huge." I was like, "Yeah, because we lifted like football players."
Seriously. Yeah, I miss. I left abruptly. I didn't want to, and I left right in the middle of basketball season, and ended up down in Arizona. I ended up with the Cardinals, which was cool. But then after
That's
that,
cool.
I lost my desire to be in strength conditioning anymore. So, and then I ended up joining the military. Thought I was going to use since I have a degree, I was going to go to the officer candidate, but thought maybe I should go enlist first, go through everything, earn the respect, and then go OCS. And that was a mistake. I should just went OCS, because we got deployed to Afghanistan right away, and then ended up getting medevac and sent that's why I'm in Texas, because I ended up getting medevac, sent to San Antonio, and then eventually met my wife, soon to be ex. And yeah, so, but yeah, I miss it a lot. I try and get back as much as I can. Do you know who Lance Carl, did he get a hold of you? Because he had posted something. I had saw him a couple years ago, and he showed us, take us for a tour and everything. And then he had posted, like I had mentioned to you about the article, and he said, "What article?" And I said, "The one about McDonald's." And
I was like, "The new one?" I was like, "Yeah, a new one." Oh no, the old one.
No, yeah. He had read that, and he was like, "Has anyone been in touch with David?" And I remember saying something to him, and and he was looking to get in touch with you. I don't know the exact reason, but he was trying to get.
You remember Trennis Jones? He was on my basketball.
He was your roommate, wasn't he?
Yeah, Trennis he ended up doing stuff with me professionally with my agent, and we've been lifelong friends since we met in college. I think those two spoke. The article. So just to speak about that article, that was like a panic time in my life. I was getting kicked out of basketball, literally kicked out. And for the first time since, in college, money wasn't an issue, because we weren't receiving any illegally, but you just don't need that much to have a fun time. We had our stipends for our food. We had everything taken care of. And then the NBA, not an issue. My dad being an NFL player, growing up, money was an issue. For the first time, it became an issue. And I literally panicked. I didn't know what to do. And that's the first thing I thought of is just get the job. And that situation materialized at that moment. The guy who gave me that opportunity, I didn't want to turn my nose up to him and be like, "Oh no," because he was trying to help. So I was like, "Sure, this might turn into something." I literally did it for a week, and it just wasn't for me. I ended up doing a lot of other things, a lot of things in finance, a lot of things in whatever. But the way the article reads, because no one reads the headline, it's like I still work there. Like every time I do a deal, they'll bring up that article.
But when you read it, when you read it, you understand you weren't there. I mean, I can understand too, where you got a 7 foot tall guy working the register or something, and then they recognize you. So now they're just going to stop and yap, and before they, you said, it'd take them like a half an hour before they'd order.
Although the funny thing is, because you got to try to get them off the clock by a certain time, and that's kind of what you're judged by. And like, I don't want to be rude, but like, people will ask me, like, didn't you play for the Pacers? I'm like, yes, yes. Here's your money. Now get out of here. You know what I mean? Like, and then they'd come up, and I'd be so tall, I'm having to like bend over to talk to them, just to get my face down instead of them talking to my crotch. Essentially, I mean, it was. I mean, it was the job wasn't for me. I mean, the hours were perfect. It was midnight to 6 a.m. But at the same, like that was the time I was willing to give up and try to do something like this. But I mean, outside of that, it didn't work. And then, like I said, I mean, I did it right after that. I learned how to program. I made a Android game. It was called Dog Wars. We had to rename it to KG Dogfighting App. You know, we made huge buzz. And I mean, this is the first time I've ever really talked about it publicly, that I actually did that game. I mean, it was Kevin Spacey came out and like started like a group. PETA came out. I mean, it was bad, but at the same time, it was anything worse than Pokemon. You pushed a button that said fight. You trained it, like it was very, very like low budget. Essentially, it's just the idea was so revolting to people, and I got it. But at the same time, I remember saying, like, if you don't want people to know about it, stop talking about it. Stop putting it in the front of the Fox
Seriously.
News. Stop putting it in front of the Wall Street Journal. Stop
Seriously.
The LA police chief came out and said, like this is the most dangerous app in the history. I mean, we won an award for worst app of the year, and they never ever gave that award out again. So that's one thing. But I mean, I learned a lot. That was my business school. I learned a lot during that. You know, we had good sales. Um, I didn't structure the company to where I had control, even though I put in the money and I put in a lot of my own time learning how to code and coding. I had to hire professionals, you know, to work with, and I just didn't structure it right. And I mean, like talking about Bitcoin, we had all this foreign currency. I said, hey, let's buy Bitcoin. It was like $8 a coin at the time. We had enough in there to buy like 10,000 coins. I mean, we would have had $1 billion company just off of that one idea. But you know, I got talked into not being able to execute that move because I needed 70% approval, and the other people didn't vote my way. So that's the first thing I learned with a company. If you're going to be in there, you should keep control, make as many decisions as you possibly can. And when people voice their opinion, don't dismiss them, but don't allow them to slow your vision down.
So what was it like? Because I remember right before draft, you'd been out training. I think you went out LA, right? Wasn't it with
Yep.
Mike Boyle's place? And then so you get drafted. How was that feeling, like getting picked and meeting Larry Bird and your first round draft pick? That must have been pretty awesome because those are the guys you see on ESPN. You know, you don't. After that, it's like no one gives a shit.
Man, I had like a camera crew following me around. My dad's friends with a few people that I was friends with Ahmad Rashad. And when I was going, you know, they followed me through my workouts. Because the thing for me, everyone's like, David, you're lazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not lazy. I love working out. I love doing all this other stuff. When I play basketball, I look tired because I'm thinking all the time. And that's what I learned. I actually learned that later in my career. I became way more comfortable in my craft to where I didn't burn. I mean, there's a lot of energy just in the thinking aspect of the game. And with in college, you know, I mean, you remember our coach. I mean, I can't even tell you one play we ran other than Seal, and Seal Berry put that in for us. She saw the way she was a really good coach. She would have coached us. We probably would have won a championship. but she saw like the way we were running, and she literally pulled Coach Patton aside, gave him the play, and that's the play that took us to the NCAA tournament that year. It isolated Blair Wilson's ability to shoot. It made aside for Michelle Mirandis to drive through to use his athleticism. And then it isolated to me to where if you did help and left me alone, there was lobs over the top. There were direct feeds I can get under the basket on the swings. So, I mean, it was a wonderful play. I mean, we ran it over and over again. Like I said, it got us to the tournament that year. Next season, Coach Patton tried to put in 8 plays, and none of them worked, and we didn't run Seal. But like I said, she was an amazing coach. But with Coach Patton, he just, man, he was he was very intense, and like I said, he couldn't. He's coaching actually now at Vanderbilt with Jerry Stackhouse, um, but he's just not a modern. Like he couldn't. He'd get in so much trouble if he was a head coach just by the way
Yeah.
he speaks to the children, the
Yep.
players. Like
Yeah.
he'd
They'd go
get
on
in so
social
much
media, and
trouble.
next thing you know, he'd be fired for saying some word that's offensive. And it's like,
Oh man, the Bobby Knight thing when he's yelling at one kid on that. I don't know if you ever heard that audio. But I mean, if I would have recorded a third of the conversations we had during practice, he would have gotten in so much trouble.
I've heard them. Do
Oh
you
yeah.
remember? Because this reminds me, because I want to talk about Malice in the Palace, but we had a little sort of Malice in the Palace at Coors Event Center. Do you remember when we played Utah? And
Oh, when
Andrew,
the guy
Andrew,
threw, yes.
and Andrew Bogut, he had a really good game against you. And so the fans were. So I remember you and I were walking to the tunnel, and the fans, our fans, above the tunnel, and so all I remember is thinking, I'm me trying to hold back this freaking 7-foot monster that wants to go and jump in the stands, trying to kill. But the other thing I remember is Rick Majerus, and he's like, David, don't do it. Think about your career. I remember him kept on yelling that, but you wanted to literally, you were out for blood. I mean, I'm trying to I'm like seriously trying to, I think I was holding on to your shorts from behind, something like that. And like, you literally wanted to go and tear heads off.
Man, that was crazy. We played hard that game, super hard. And I remember coming in the tunnel, and I had a good game that game. But what ended up winning it was their other center finally started hitting their threes, and I couldn't go out. And then I was playing Bogut and him because Lamar was on
That's
him,
right.
and I had to help down. And then we're going out, and the guy literally throws popcorn in my face and goes, he was like, I forgot what he said to me because I went into a rage. But I do remember Rick Majerus yelling. But the thing is, I still remember Coach Patton not saying anything and walking away. And then Rick Majerus, the other team coach.
Yeah, he was already in the locker room.
And then Rick Majerus, the other team coach, yelled at the fan and then yelled at me. But yeah, that was, and then, I mean, Texas Tech, I don't know if you remember that. That was insane. That was the craziest of it all. When the other guy just punches me in the face, I get a technical foul, which is my second. I get thrown out for being punched in the face, and then my nose starts bleeding. And that's the last thing I can actually tell you other than secondhand accounts of what other people tell me happened next. But, I mean, the guy went to the half court, started celebrating. I just lost it. I was like, that was the most intense one. But the Utah one, that hurt because it was our own fans. And I mean, we killed ourselves that game. We barely lost. I mean, I think Utah ended up going pretty far in the tournament that year.
So then to Malice in the Palace, and they like, there's people say you were involved, but you weren't really involved. But yet you got fined. And now the one thing I read that you said is you thought that was that's what really hurt your career. Like that put a damper on your career. That was the 9th game of the year. November 19th was the date. So, yeah, about 9th game of the year. But, yeah, after that, then that didn't help. And then the marijuana suspension was definitely the cherry on top. Isn't it funny about marijuana now, too? It's like it's so accepted. But 20 years ago, you were looked at as like a pariah. You were like an evil person. And now it's like, smoking out in public and no one's got a problem with it. And it's so funny because there's nothing wrong with it. But yet these doctors were throwing painkillers at you guys nonstop. And, players are getting addicted to that stuff. That's okay, though.
What got me was coming from Boulder in Boulder, you don't even know weed's illegal. You know what I mean? Like it's its own little bubble. But going from Boulder to Indiana and then with the Malice in the Palace being under that spotlight, then the next season, there was a shooting involving my team at a strip club. And then the season after that, a rival gang tried to assassinate our point guard, Jamal Tinsley. And then my last year, I got suspended for marijuana. Like, I never had a clean year. Like, there was always something tragic happening. Yeah. And then also it helped with the perfect storm. They went from in the collective bargaining agreement, they went from 4 years guaranteed, which was I was on, and then they did the rookie deals for 2 years. So the year I came up was the first year of them being only 2 years in. So there was a flood of free agents, and with all those strikes against me, I mean, I had a few opportunities, but they never panned out. The most my last one that I felt was actually legitimate was with the Lakers, and I ended up getting a concussion. And then I played in China, won 2 championships.
How's
But
that,
I
China?
loved playing there. I loved it. I got to
Where
play
where were
again.
you? Were you in
I
Hong
was
Kong?
in I was in Beijing. I would stay in Hong Kong a lot, but I was in Beijing, the team that Marbury coaches for now. And then Dongguan was the team I won the championships with. They have all the national players. It's like literally playing on the Chinese All Star team. It was so much fun.
And did you
Um,
go? You said you stayed in Hong Kong a lot because Hong Kong's a separate. It's got
it,
its own.
it
There's still
was.
a. Oh, oh, that's right, because all the protests and
Yeah.
stuff. But technically, so Hong Kong's more democratic as far as capitalism. But then they're
Uh,
still kind of ruled by China. But then they're so
the
it's a little
term
more
is
freedom.
westernized. It's a lot more.
Western.
They're a lot
Okay.
more westernized. I mean, Hong Kong used to be a British colony essentially. Um, After the opiate wars, um, which is a funny war. It's not funny. It's sad. But so like all like the foreign area, like the silks and the stuff came from China. So Britain was sending their silver, their pound sterling to get it, and China was hoarding it, and Britain wanted it back. So Britain used to make them buy opium, and that's how they got their silver back out by giving them drugs. And then they didn't want it anymore, and then they fought a war to make them buy it, and that's how they got Hong Kong and Singapore. I mean, I'm sorry, in Shanghai actually, those two areas. They gave up Shanghai back, but in 1997 they made a treaty with China saying that'll be two countries. I'm sorry, two countries, two systems. And honestly, if you look at what China's done, especially over the past 5 years, they've completely violated that. I mean, Britain should actually say they violated it and give it back. I mean, the Hong Kong people don't want to be mainland Chinese, and the Hong Kong people will serve a problem because they're educated. They're not gonna fall for the. It's going to be it's really sad what happened in Hong Kong. A lot of my friends have left. I haven't been back in 4 or 5 years. I'm not afraid to go back, but a lot of my friends were arrested in the democratic riots and stuff. So it's an interesting situation, but it's sad just seeing that city just turn to that.
Do you think? So you finished playing what 2015? Is that when your last?
My last time was they did this scam called the Amero League. This guy started this league that was just going to be in Vegas. It was awesome, great setup. I knew other players signing into it, and then the day everyone's supposed to arrive to Vegas, it ends up being a scam. I think that was like 20. I think that was 2015. And then after that, I mean, I spent so much on training that year, getting in shape, spent like 20 grand. And now I'm not having any money coming playing basketball. I was just like, I'm so done with this.
What do you think? Looking back, if you could have changed anything, it's that way it continued in the league. What do you think you would have done differently? Knowing aged and you've gone through wisdom and learning from your mistakes. What do you think you should have done? Approach it differently so you still would have been playing. Because you
I
were
wish
huge. You were definitely a big man that could benefit any team.
I wish I would have taken it more serious in the regards of what I was doing. I always viewed it as sports as literally like my mental health outlet, and that was it. Uh, I every time I felt down, sad, whatever, I had an outlet with sports. I could go out there and exert myself, and physically just exhaust myself, and I could go to sleep that night. When I didn't have that in the NBA, I mean, I lost my mind because I didn't know where I could get it, and I found it, by getting in trouble. But I mean, that's the thing. I think a lot of mental health problems in sports, you can see it. I mean, it's depressing not playing. And I was working
Especially when it's
hard.
taken away so quickly.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like when I would play, the center in front of me was an all-star candidate every year, Janae O'Neal, but he would get hurt for long stretches of time. And I would go in there and we would be winning games. I'd have good numbers. And the second Jermaine gets back, I'm on the bottom of the rotation. I'm not even like the sixth guy off the bench to replace him. I'm at the bottom of the rotation. And it's like that was the most frustrating thing. And in that NBA, you couldn't ask for a trade, especially the position I was in. But that's really what I wanted. I wanted to go somewhere where I could be utilized, and that's what I wish I would have done. I wish I would have vocalized that a bit more, um, instead of passively aggressively taking out by getting in trouble, I guess.
Right? Yeah.
But I mean, I would, like I said, I saying that I wish I was more mature at my age. It's hard. I mean, you're a kid for as long as you're a kid. Um, life has done things to me to help me mature mentally, and it wouldn't have happened that way if I was playing because I could have avoided the money issues and things like that. Like now, I have a view of life. I think that's a little more wholesome than I did when I played. Um, but I wish I would have played longer. I That is the one thing I do miss is the locker room, having a group of guys that you can hang out with, talk to, and you're all going through the same stuff. That's the biggest hole that I haven't been able to fill since I've left sports.
That was the same for me being a coach. I was always around players all the time, and you're in the weight room. The strength coach works with players more than any of their coaches ever. So you're
Yep.
always interacting, and then all of a sudden it gets. I mean, I chose to walk away, but at the same time, it was hard for me to watch football sometimes or games or basketball because you were there and now you're a spectator. And I had the best view when I was there, sidelines, courtside, and then all of a
Yep.
sudden you're like in the stands, and it just I know you're feeling by then. Did you? Because you talked about mental health. Did you like get really depressed? Did you
Oh yeah,
have any really bad thoughts? Doing anything crazy, or besides,
when I got suspended, I went to Los Angeles. I threw a party at the Mondrian Hotel. It was on like the fourth floor. There's these low hanging balconies that go over the pool. And I'm literally walking on the banister of this thing, like back and forth, back and forth. I'm drunk. I'm not supposed to be throwing this party. I'm supposed to report back to Indianapolis. And I'm like, no, you're not paying me. You're not my boss. So I ended up slipping and I fall in the pool. I fell 20 feet into like a 6-foot pool. So I didn't stop all the way. And I mean, everyone's like, you jumped. And I was like, I don't remember it. But, I felt like I was worthless because I wasn't playing. I really did. I found a lot of my value, not in like what people said about me, not in what people thought about me, but just having access to perform a sport. And I didn't care what sport. I mean, I could have played football. I could have played baseball. I mean, I had multiple sports that I was interested in until I finally chose basketball. And when I didn't, that outlet closed to me. It wasn't because it was my actions, but when that outlet was closed, it was depressing. And I actually felt, and I knew it the next year when I was in China, because I got to play all 48 minutes a game. And it was the most amazing feeling in the world. And that's what I wanted. I mean, I almost wanted to play in China more than I wanted to play in the NBA because in China I knew I wouldn't come out of the game.
And they take that basketball serious over there. You'd be worshipped like a god, probably.
It's their number one sport. Everyone wants to say Lu Mao Chou, which is ping pong. That was their national sport that Mao Zedong set. But the sport that they literally flock to is basketball. They love basketball over there. I mean, it's amazing the market that NBA has opened up with that country. That's why I hope that we can mend any issues we have and keep on growing it, because the cultural aspect of what basketball does, being able to take people from different areas and put them on a team and showing that that can be successful. that changes societies. Uh, the two things I think that's changed American culture the most is sports and war. Um, if you're in a foxhole, you don't really care the color of the person in that foxhole. You just hope he's a good
Don't care
shot.
about anything.
Yeah,
No,
it's the same
and you
thing in
shouldn't.
sports. Yeah, it's the same thing in sports. Um, you want to win. You don't care if the person's green, orange, blue. If they're good, you want them on the court. You want them on the field, and you want to win. So, I mean, sports, in my opinion, I mean, it's been centerpiece in society since Rome, the gladiators. Now, unfortunately, we have to live the rest of our lives and have to find something else to do. But I mean, it's been if we can just spread that understanding around, I think, like I said, we can change the world for the better. Just going out there and just doing the stuff we love.
Did you find? I'm sure you gained, and I'm putting this in air quotes, friends when you became a professional athlete that are the hanger-oners that as soon as your career ended, all of a sudden they were just like, lose my number, that type, those type. Did you have a lot of those?
I would say, what's funny? Like, how like life pushes people. They get families. You just talk less naturally, things like that. But a lot of my friends actually, they still stuck by me. Um, a lot of my friends are like doctors and lawyers and things like that, and um, stockbrokers and in the finance. And I've been able to network with them a lot. They still. I mean, when I've gotten to the lowest times of my life, I've still been able to reach out to people I've met, especially at college. My college friends have been the most loyal in that regard. But
Yep.
I didn't really associate myself with people like that. I had 11. I have 11 brothers and sisters, so I already had
Yeah.
a
Plus,
big
your dad
posse.
played. Your dad was a professional athlete, and he's a very large man. I'm sure he made sure you kept your head on straight. So, because I
Oh,
remember meeting your father, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this is where it comes from.
Doc coached my dad.
Yeah,
Doc was,
Vanderbilt.
yeah. Doc coached my dad. It's kind of funny how that circle, that
Have
circle
you
is.
have you heard about Doc?
No,
He is suffering from dementia, and he's in a home in Birmingham, I believe it is, and has absolutely no clue. Even who his son EJ is has zero.
wow.
Yeah, yeah. So he's down. I keep in touch with one of his assistants from when I was back there. He's at Florida State now, and he's the one that told me. And yeah, but apparently he's not doing very well. So he just kind of sits in a home for the elderly and doesn't know who anyone is. Yeah, it's pretty sad.
When I was good story about Doc, when Kevin Love was drafted, I was trying out with the Timberwolves, and Doc was at UCLA with him, and he was like, Doc would talk about you all the time about how you could like destroy people and stuff like that. I was like,
Doc was a car salesman, man. He could make shit look really good. He could talk
son,
it up. So
you take your recarbs, your relax, you get
Gatorade,
your
Gatorade.
You're like, Doc, what's in this pill?
Yeah.
The scientists haven't really figured it out yet, but
just take it. Yeah,
take it.
Oh my God. Yeah, he hasn't changed. For me, when I was getting the coaching stuff, like years down the road, if I needed a reference, he was always. He wouldn't even remember me, but he would talk me up, and next thing you know, I'd get hired.
Yeah, Doc was. My dad loved him, and he was one of the reasons why my mom was so comfortable with my brother DJ going there.
Yeah, I remember your brother.
Yeah, I mean Doc's a great man. At least he's back down now. Is he around family? At least they don't remember, but at least he's back down where he's from, which is a good thing.
Do you think like when your career ended and money was gone and stuff, have you heard about because they talk about the rates of guys after their career's over going either they say like 60% of NBA guys go bankrupt. Then this is funny. I read 78% of NFL guys are in financial distress. I mean, it seems like they're going to be broke anyways. But have you heard about, who Evander Kane is?
No, I have not. I haven't heard of him.
He plays for the San Jose Sharks. And over his career, I think he's made like 53 million, and he just filed for bankruptcy. And
Oh yes, I saw that. I saw
and
that.
I know he had a gam. Like I remember seeing pictures where he'd post where he's in Vegas flashing, he'd have his ball cap on, head down, just flashing dollar bills. And there's a former NHL GM that says he probably thinks that majority of, because he says he had a lot of hangers on that lived with him, and he'd have to take care of them, which I don't understand what that is. I guess they're people that don't want to work and just play video games and say, hey, if anybody needs some money, I don't know. But yeah, he thinks it was more gambling. And I think, because how could you, I know you have a lifestyle you're trying to maintain, but at the same time, how could you, I think he's 27 million in debt. Yeah, and he's got all these places like that are trying to sue him so he filed for bankruptcy, and he said out of it 1.5 was gambling debts. It's like, if you own 1.5 in gambling, there's more. There's
a little more there.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing, the lifestyle. I mean, you have like James Harden, apparently he's probably thrown 30-40 million dollars down strip clubs, according to what people say. There's a lot of money that's wasted. I didn't get a chance to waste a lot of money. I didn't make a crap ton of it, but of what I did make, I could have paid. I could have used it more efficiently. Made a few investments, and then like the financial crisis came right when I stopped playing in the NBA.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 2008. Yep.
Oh yeah, it was perfect. It was a perfect storm.
Right.
But like, I mean, that was when I first got invested. 4 years of gains just wiped out. And that was my big wake up to what the market is, because I wish I would have been playing in the NBA that next season, because I would have bought, but I was trading with fear, and that's all it is, fear and greed. But I was fearful. I sold, and I missed out on a lot until I could get enough capital up to reinvest. So I mean, it's life. It's funny. The educations you get in life are never free. And when after the fact, you're like, okay, I know this now, so now I have to capitalize on it. Just monetizing that knowledge is hard enough.
Yeah, the hardest ones are the most costly, but then you hopefully learn from them. I understand that totally. I mean, there's times I wish I woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I gotta keep moving forward and just keep my mind active and keeping it busy on things. You mentioned James Harden. What do you think about the whole? I have my opinions on it, and then there's like understanding Black Lives Matter, and then kneeling at the national anthem. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I always get in trouble because I make the statement all lives matter, and I say it in the regards that if you look at the true issue, it's the militarization of the police, and it is a disproportionate amount of the violence going towards minorities, but that violence exists across all ethnic demographics. Asian people are getting beat up by the cops, white people are being beat up by the cops, Hispanic people are being beat up by the cops. And I thought that the message was divisive, but at the same time, it was necessary to get the point across that, I mean, there is a system that's designed to disenfranchise people of color and the poor. And I hope and I wish that was the message, but people politicized it, and it didn't get across that way. And that's why I wish they would have gone the route of being more inclusive instead of trying to be like specific. Because all lives do matter. It doesn't matter what color your skin is. The police are not your friend. I think that's been well established.
It's funny we talk about gun control, and they're worried about your rights being taken away. And personally, I don't think they're ever going. I mean, in my entire lifetime, I've always heard when Clinton was coming on, they're going to take your guns, and Obama's coming on, they're going to. They're good. I don't. I have a shotgun my father gave me when he passed away. I like bow hunting personally, but I have no problem with guns. The thing I find funny is that there's not very much training for police officers in general. They should be undergo stringent training because you're dealing with the public. You're carrying a weapon that can kill.
Mm-hmm.
But yet they're hiring. You always see big billboards. We're hiring, whatever Nashville Police Department, for example, and they'll have a big billboard hiring now. And as long as you pass the aptitude test and the physical part, they will take you on to be a recruit, to be a police officer. They don't give you a mental, stringent. You should have a serious mental evaluation before you even are given an opportunity to attend training to be a police officer. And then once you're in, you should have, I think they only undergo a couple hours of training a year. And that should be mandatory. They should have I don't know realistically what it could be, but 100 hours of training at least a year, how to to civilly deal with people instead of immediately
go to your gun
person. Yeah. And grab it. Here's an example. I was actually driving through Tennessee, and I was going to Nashville to see my buddy Dave, and I was going to stay with him, catch a game. And I was cruising through, I think I had passed through Memphis, and I was speeding, okay. I'm cruising all, so I see the state trooper behind me. So I pull over, and he exits his cruiser and comes around to my passenger side. So I roll the window down, and I had just gotten released from the military. So I had all my gear in the back of my truck and in the back cab part. And so things were all over the place. And I rolled the window down. He's talking to me and where he come from. And I told him, and I forget what I had to reach for, but I went to do something. Dude, he went to his side.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. I mean, I'm just getting I think it was my registration or something. And he immediately went to his side. I was like, if you have reaction, and then how quick people can pull a trigger on somebody. And I don't know if it's racially motivated. You can't say. But sometimes
I have one. I'm actually with Chris Copeland. We're in Indianapolis. I'm taking him back to his house. I'm in my box fan because we're hauling some bricks, and he has his lawyer in the back, and we're talking. We're setting up a trucking agency at the time, and we're meeting with the individuals that we're going to do it with. We're heading back. And I'm not speeding. I'm not doing anything wrong. And the cop gets behind me, and I'm in a left turn signal. I'm turning left. Cop turns on his lights. No one moves on the other side because everyone thinks that he's going to pull me over in this abandoned parking lot that's right across the street. It's well lit and everything. And so I move forward a little bit, and he starts honking his horn and making all the cop siren noises. And I'm like, okay. No one's going on the other side. So I move forward again. He does the same thing. And so finally I'm in the middle of the lane. So I move all the way over there, and I stop my car. I have the emergency flashers on. The windows are tinted. So I have an automatic open. So I open the door behind so they can see in the car. And I literally have my hands up. This guy comes out, and he called in a felony stop, comes out with his gun drawn, makes me get out of the car, walk backwards towards him. He handcuffs me, and he starts hitting me and stuff. And luckily his partner was there. And I said to him, I go, if this guy hits me again, this is going to get really bad because he's starting to really piss me off. And so I'm handcuffed. He's running my stuff. There's nothing wrong. And the other guy is telling him what happened. And literally Chris knows the other guy. And I'm not saying I'm a pacer. I shouldn't get in trouble, but I wasn't speeding. I'm not drunk. You've tested me twice already. I've been handcuffed on the side of the road, and you've pointed your gun at me for the last 20 minutes. He was mixed, but he was black. The guy who showed up was black. And at the end of the night, it's not, like I said, it's not racial. It's the fact that they feel they have the right to do that to you. And he goes, well, there was a cop that was shot 2 weeks ago. And we're really nervous. And I said, then you shouldn't be a police officer. You shouldn't. If that's the why you treated me like crap, you shouldn't be a police officer. And the next time a cop pulls me over, am I supposed to treat them like crap because you treated me like crap? The circle of violence has to stop.
Right.
And like I said, the second you ran my plates, you knew who I was. The person next to me is 6'10". I'm 7 feet tall. what do you think this is? Like there's like use your
You're
mind.
easy to spot if you're suspects. I mean, you can't miss
yeah.
7 foot almost tall guys.
I was like, I go search my car. There's no drugs. There's no weapons. Do whatever you want. And that's what I'm saying. Like, tell me what we've done here, other than the fact that you just trampled over my rights to be a human being for the last 45 minutes. And when I get mad, I get tears in my eyes. And I was kidding. They're like, we should unccuff him. I'm like, no, because I don't know what I'm going to do with my hands down because I'm mad. Like, you
I
did the
believe
right.
that.
I'm like, I need to cool down. So, I mean, and that's the thing. It's, in my opinion, if you're speeding, they should take a picture of your license plate, tell you on their radio to slow down, and send you a ticket in the mail. That's how confrontational it should be.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that where you end up in high speed chases. I mean, when that guy pulled me over, yeah, it freaked me out. And also, I saw him draw like and I could only imagine how the guys who actually pull go through the whole motion. And that's why they talk about defund the police. You should fund them for more training, especially on the mental side.
I've always said,
definitely,
like a New York cop, like right out, they make like $35,000 a year.
That too.
Like, you can't live on $35,000 and be in New York City. So you're already setting them up to be crooked. Pay them more, give them more benefits. But on the reverse side, like with the Breonna Taylor settlement, it was like $15 million. That should be paid by the police pensions. And at that point, I guarantee you their behavior will change, because now totally. you have an entire group of people that are going to be pissed that this happened, and it's coming out of their pocket. Until it's a punitive damage, like money wise, that hits all of their pockets somehow. I mean, that may disband their unions, which is what they're trying to do now. But I mean, that's the goal. If they could be hurt personally, financially, by the actions, I think, like, over time, I think it's not going to weed itself out, like, simply, but it's going to be harder and harder and harder to have these events happen that aren't justified. You know, there are times where people are shot tragically and it was justified. I mean, a lot of it, though, is not. I mean, shooting a kid in the back in a park, not justified. Putting your knee on your neck for someone for almost 10 minutes, not justified. But at the same time,
happy about that one.
Yeah, that whole situation, and that what happened to me literally happened, I'd say, 2 weeks before the whole Breonna Taylor thing went down. I mean George Floyd, before the whole George Floyd thing went down. That probably was 2 weeks. And I was, the entire time, you know, I mean, that could have happened under President Clinton, Hillary Clinton, if she won. I mean, nothing's different. Like,
no,
like, it didn't matter who the president was. That would have happened no matter what. And unfortunately, under Hillary Clinton, it would have been swept under the rug. I mean, everyone who hates Trump, I say this, I love the man for the fact that he painted a giant red X on every institution that we need to change in this country to move forward as a society. I mean, he literally did. And then the people that reared their ugly head, you gave us your face and your recognition, and now they're getting arrested for storming the Capitol building. So, I mean, it's just, you got to take the sour with the sweet, you know. People want rainbows without rainstorms.
What do you think about kneeling at the flag?
I think it's a form of protest.
I agree.
I don't think it's disrespectful in the regards of who they say it's disrespectful to. It's not a disrespect to the troops. It's not a disrespect for anyone.
I'm a veteran. I took an oath to the Constitution of the United States to protect and defend that and the people of the United States. And one of the rights we have is freedom of expression. And that's what I defended. And I would be a hypocrite to tell you not to. You're not offending me by doing it, because I understand what the purpose is. And the people who say, just like you're not disrespecting the flag. That's what people are fighting for, to keep the spirit and the beauty alive of this country. It's not a disrespect to the troops. I don't find it disrespectful. I don't care. People can say whatever they want to my answer. And yep, I'm a white guy saying it's not disrespectful to the flag. And I'm a veteran, and I'm proud to say that I support anyone who kneels.
I don't think that you're in the minority. I have a lot of Trump supporting friends that would say that too. They wouldn't say it publicly, but
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
I
mean, that's the
understand that.
thing. You see the protest, the storm on the Capitol. They beat a cop to death with the flag. That's disrespecting the flag. There's,
Oh,
I
but they're
mean, that,
patriots. Those guys are patriots. Oh my
I mean,
God, that's the complete opposite of patriots, dumbasses. I mean, give me
oh
a
yeah,
break.
yeah. That
They
was
used to hang people and shoot people for doing what those assholes did.
treason and sedition. I know. I mean, it's this is the thing. I could see how it got out of control. Being in a lot of riotous situations, unfortunately, but I can see how it got out of control. But at the same time, um, what what happened there was was sedition, and it was planted and fostered by the ability for Donald Trump to spread the lie that the election was stolen. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he has freedom of speech, but at the same time, there are consequences to that speech.
Yeah, and Rudy Giuliani. And when the actual event happened, where were they? They were leading the charge verbally, but when shit happened, there were no. Especially Giuliani. I forgot what Giuliani said, but it's like
Oh
he should have been
man,
right there at the front leading the charge.
and Rudy's gonna get disbarred, I think, which is awesome. Bill Barr has kind of come back in the last couple months trying to salvage his legacy, but he was complacent. Pompeo's kind of just taking it on the chin. But the biggest tragedy, in my opinion, is Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham. They dishonored and
They're
disgraced
enablers.
themselves. Yeah, they dishonored and disgraced themselves
Now
and their
all of a sudden,
party.
it took because of all their bullshit politics, them 6 months, and they didn't want Donald Trump to get credit for the stimulus package. So instead, they took 6 months to get a stimulus package approved, yet it took them a week to pass impeachment for Donald Trump,
Mm-hmm.
just like that. So, and they're just hypocrites. They're all looking out for themselves and their next run at their uh,
At
to get
office, yeah.
reelected. Yeah, and then like you said, McConnell and Lindsey Graham. Now all of a sudden they're like, he shouldn't have done that. But yet you enabled him the entire fucking time he was in office for 4 years. You wouldn't speak up, but now he's out. Okay, yeah, he shouldn't have been a president, and we want to impeach him. Oh, now
I know. Well, back in 2008, historic election, Barack Obama's running against John McCain. I vote for the best candidate. I don't
exactly.
care. I don't care what party you're in. I'm watching a town hall, and this woman asked John McCain, "Will he help America fight off the social terrorist that is Barack Obama? He's a Muslim terrorist, and he's just
Yeah, I
not
remember that.
good for this country." And everyone in the room starts clapping and hooting and hollering, and he shut them up, shut them down, and said, "No, ma'am, Barack Obama is a very good man. We may have
Yep.
political beliefs. I, I voted for him because of that moment." In my mind, a person who's willing to take the risk of not going with the crowd as a politician, sacrifice themselves for the greater good, that's the type of man I'd love to have president.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know Obama that much at the time. When it came between him and Romney, I voted for Obama. But now Romney stepped up against Trump,
Yeah.
stood the line.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, he
like
did.
I'm sitting there just like, wow, I hated Mitch Romney, and now I actually like him. But
Yep. I was the same way.
senators like Cruz and
Cruz,
Jim
that
Jordan and
that guy from
those
Missouri, whatever, that Lawley or whatever the hell his name is.
yeah, those are the individuals that I mean, COVID can be spread with a mask. It can be spread very, very far. But the measures that we could take to prevent it, and the fact that they allowed idiocracy to rule above science, those are criminal charges. I hope one day that they receive. Yeah, I hope they get charged for murder. I hope they do.
Yeah.
Because
Good luck on that.
I mean, I don't know how many people would have died, but this many people wouldn't have died if we would have had a competent plan put in place. And the whole world's locking down again. Essentially, this is a new virus. When you look at the last pandemic, it took 4 years for it to end in 1918. I'm
Now it's
sorry, it
got
took
that,
6 years for it to end
and
back in
this one's got
1918.
variants now. They're finding that those
Oh yeah,
variants.
and it's so infectious. That's the thing. It's just so infectious.
What do you think about taking
Um,
the vaccine? Would you take it?
I would if it was the right vaccine. The problem,
Yeah.
and Fauci came out yesterday and said what I've been saying to everyone. It's like uploading Windows 97 to a new computer. This thing has changed and transformed so much. What they have isn't working. Um, with the flu, you get last year's variant, and then they have like computer simulations on what they're going to predict, and they put it's a strain and B strain. The A strain is the only strain that they have. They don't have a B strain that they can model with computers to put in you. That's the second dose. So it's like I said, we're uploading Windows 97 to a brand new computer, and it's not going to stop your computer from crashing. So,
And the scientists and me, the testing part wasn't really extensive enough as far. I mean, I'll let other people take it and see how it goes, and because it's a mRNA, working with messing with the molecular or genetic structure, which I'm sure they've mastered, but at the same time, it's like this was so quick to
oh yeah,
get to market, and now some of the efficacy rate isn't as much as they thought it was. Now they don't know if it's going to protect against the variants, and
well, and then it's like the dose. It has to be at a certain temperature. If it's taken
yeah,
out, it's less of. It's just. I say if you're a frontline worker, and especially if you're in the military, that's who I would try to inoculate first. Our military and our frontline. And then our science is going to be just like the flu shot every year. They're going to catch up to the point where I think it'll be as effective as the flu shot at least. But the goal to end COVID it doesn't lay in the vaccine. It's in the programs we put in place to keep people socially distanced, and on top of masks, gloves, and everything, and all the PPE we need to treat it in the hospital because you have a hospital full of this. Everyone in that hospital is going to end up getting it. The HEPA filter. I mean, it's like the cruise ships. The filtered air is just the
yeah.
recycled air. Just it stays in it and gets everyone sick. So
Cruise ships are germ magnets as it is. There's
I
no
know.
way you'd ever catch me. Whenever you always hear about when a cruise ship, the entire crew, like everyone gets sick of some kind of just stomach flu or
Hmm.
something. No, that's okay. I'll pass on
Scurvy.
that shit.
You can get scurvy.
Seriously.
We're in a place where we have enough science, we have enough computer and brain power working together. Um, we're in a place where we should be able to fight it, but we're not going to get past the the preventative measures that we need to take. And if it's a shutdown and a lockdown, I say let's do it. Let's get it over with. Print more money, give everyone enough money to
The
get
only
through what
problem
they
is
need.
we've got a nation of fucking babies, and they now everyone has a voice now with social media, and they're gonna
Yeah.
go out and fucking bitch, piss, and moan, and get all their little friends and tribal gang up on you, and that's the problem. We got too many people with their
With,
fucking
with
conspiracy
okay,
theories.
with 9/11, you talk about conspiracy theories, but with 9/11, um, with 9/11, 3,000 Americans died, and we essentially handed over our Bill of Rights to our country and said we don't need these anymore. There's a collective evil out there that we're willing to sacrifice these for and fight. COVID is very similar to 9/11, in my opinion, and 410,000 people have died. And we are still sitting around talking about, I have a right to a haircut. I have a
Oh
right
yeah,
to, you know what I mean? It's like,
it's like
I don't get it. We weren't, what was that, 20 years ago, we weren't more patriotic than we are today. Or I would
no.
say we were less because 9/11 started a bunch of this
Don't
national
you love
fervor.
people who make up all these rights that they have? I have a right to this and a right to that. And it's like, you know what? George Carlin did a
He
great
was a
bit on
genius. He
on
was a
on
genius.
I don't know if you heard his bit on rights, and he was talking about, everyone's yammering about their God-given rights. He goes, if God gave a shit, he wouldn't give it, he wouldn't be worried about your Second Amendment rights so Bubba can go out and shoot his girlfriend on a Saturday night after drinking. He said, God would be a little worried about whether you had food on the table, a roof over your head, and clothes. He wouldn't be giving a shit about whether or not you have your Second Amendment rights. And he said the one thing about rights he said they're privileges. They're glorified privileges because they can be taken away. And if rights, they're not rights if they can be taken away. If you're a felon, forget about it. You're going to fight to get your right to vote back. Forget about owning a gun because that's not going to happen. All these rights and your dignity with that label of being a felon, you're looked at so different. Even though you could be the most reformed person and change and trying to do good, that felon, so your rights of just freedom are taken away. No matter, even if you're out, you still aren't free because people are looking at you differently and treating you differently. And so, people can say all they want about rights, but they're just glorified privileges.
Yeah, George Carlin was good. Carlin was a genius. My favorite was he talking about God. He was like, he always needs money. Why does he always need money?
How about the one where he talks about Christians give him a Saturday off, Muslims or Jews give him a Friday, or no, Christians give him a Sunday off, Jews give him a Saturday off, Muslims give him a Friday off. He goes, God has a 3-day weekend, He needs money and he's got a 3-day weekend. Yeah, I love Carlin. I named my Rottweiler after Carlin. His name's George.
No, honestly, comedy is kind of one of those mediums that change society. You look at the impact Dave Chappelle has had over the last 20 years.
Especially recently with socially, like he's like calling people out and making sense and just saying.
No, I mean, I think comedy. I don't like the fact that comedy's under attack with being socially correct.
It shouldn't be.
So social correctness has no place in comedy. If it's funny, you laugh. If it's not funny, you boo. That's comedy. You know what I mean? Like that's the definition.
Don't sit there with your arms folded and not laugh, but you're going to go and blog or go on social. He was so offensive. Why are you there in the first place? That's
exactly. You purchased the ticket to see the guy. Exactly. He didn't come to your house and perform. You came to his place to perform. So I really hope we get PC out of comedy because that medium has changed the world. Because the things that George Carlin were saying today, people would hear it and they're not as shocked.
But
if they could understand the atmosphere in which he was releasing this in, he was legitimately tacking himself on a cross. He was waiting for someone to come and attack him. And the fact that he survived is a testament to the fact that the things he said are probably very truthful.
Hell yeah, they are. Yeah, that's one thing. I always want to try to stand up, and I took a class and took a 6-week course, and my final was it was awesome. I got up in front of a crowd and did a set. I was nervous as fuck, but compared to my first night on stage, like just in front of the class, and all we had to do is go up and say our name, one thing we like, one thing we hate, and who our favorite comedian was. Dude, I could barely speak, and it was the simplest exercise, and it took me a good 3 minutes just to say those things. But the thing was, people were encouraging. They saw I was nervous, and then I remember, so I have a nephew who's gay. This is another thing, gay, and then he's half black. My sister, I've got 2 nephews who are mixed race. And so my nephew's mixed race. And if you put he used to go to golf courses because he looks like Tiger Woods. And during Tiger's heyday in the mid 2000s, my nephew could put a ball cap on because he's tall. He's like 6'3". He's lean, looks with a baseball cap, looks just like Tiger. So anyways, but he looks mostly black. And then he's gay. So, when people say it, choose to be gay. So let me see. He gets called racial terms because he looks black. Then on top of it, that's not enough. I think I'll be gay. I'm also gonna choose to be gay just to get more discriminated against. Give me a break. But I don't even know where I was going with that. I forgot what I was
I don't
talking about.
the PC stuff. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean,
I know. Look, before I forget. So my nephew's gay. And so when I took that class, I came up with a joke and I want to pass it by him first. And I said, do you think if a gay guy's fucking another guy in the ass and it's bloody, something about period? I forget exactly what the punchline was, but would it be like a girl being on her period? I think that's sort of the whole thing. And he laughed. I thought it was great. So I told that joke in front of that class, which is probably about 50-50 men to women. Dude, it bombed big time.
oh,
I mean, yeah.
my,
Because the girl who did the class was a female, and it didn't go over. Like, she just looked at me. There was not even a crack of a smile. I was like, okay, I'm going to scratch that joke off. plus it was in Austin, so forget about that kind of joke going over there. So
I've done a few stand-ups. I have a buddy who has a club out in Indy, and he let me do a set. And my worst joke was what's worse than 5 babies in a dumpster? It's
what?
1 baby in 5 dumpsters, which it makes you, because it makes you think. It got the chuckle. It got the chuckle, but literally every woman in the crowd looked at me like I was the devil. I was like, oh, yes. Lord. I was like, oh, Lord.
I know. I was thinking my joke is gay approved. I passed it by a gay man for no, they didn't have any. They did not like that joke at all.
No, and that's. I mean, like I said, that's comedy. You have a choice to laugh. You have a choice not to laugh. But at the same time, the whole trying to end a comedian's life for making a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
especially now.
Yeah, I mean, comedy needs to be left alone. You know, our politicians should be PC, our police officers should be PC, our teachers should be PC, but our comedians, no, they should not be PC.
That's why they're there. That's why they're comedians, to attack all that. And when people get offended, yeah, that kills me. I love when Rogan has comedians on his show and we'll talk about, what they think the state of comedy is right now. And have you heard of Anthony Jeselnik?
Yes.
That dude, he doesn't give a shit. That's what I love about him. He is very offensive, and one of his comedy specials was in San Francisco, and he was talking about guns. He goes, "Yeah, what do you think about that, San Francisco? Like, because they're so PC." And it's the name of his special is Thoughts and Prayers, and the whole thing he did was how people want to make it about them when some tragic happens. Thoughts and prayers.
Oh yeah.
Prayers. When the Boston Marathon, that event happened, he said he always leaves a tweet, and his tweet was, "Some line shouldn't be crossed." And he said he got shit from all his sponsors and stuff like that. Yeah, and then the shooting in Aurora, Colorado, I think that one.
The theater,
yeah. He said he was getting tons of texts from friends saying, don't do it. And he put, other than that, how was the movie?
Man, the thing is, this is what really people can understand. When tragedy happens in your life, you can either be sad about it or you can laugh about it. Yeah. And I mean, eventually everything's funny. Maybe just for a second, but yeah, I mean, tragic events, and like I said, even with the Aurora, I mean, I got a bunch of texts like, "Did you know anybody?" and all the other stuff. And like you said, it doesn't have to be personal to make it a tragedy, But at the same time, yeah, I really wish that they would leave comedy alone, essentially, and just allow people to go out there and think and let us decide for ourselves what's funny instead of being told that this is inappropriate. Because I'm the first person that can tell you, the second that you want to define what I can do or say or think or feel is going to be the time that I become the most rebellious. And giving the people the ability to express themselves and like you said, self-exploration. You said the joke, it wasn't funny. It's not as if you're like, "Oh, you guys are idiots, I'm going to go to the next club and say the same thing." You adapt it. You adapted your bit. You adapted your comedy, and you're going to find what's going to strike your audience's humor. So, I mean, it's like I said, you said we are a nation of babies. it's a good thing because that means we've progressed to where we can be this soft at this age. But I kind of wish that we would grow up in the regards of kind of what we're doing to ourselves. I mean, I don't know how young men are ever going to get laid again in this entire country. I don't
think they want
understand
to.
it.
I think they're
That
too
too.
busy. I think they're too busy jerking off to porn and playing video games. And by the time they actually are with a real person, they're like, they can't get
Oh,
hard.
I guess I don't know how young people. I mean, and then it's the whole: do they have to sign a contract? Do you need
Oh God!
a
Wasn't there like
legal?
some kind of app that was going to try and come out to like to get approval before like
I mean,
some
I'm telling
app?
you. Yeah, I mean, I mean, consent is a necessity to have sex.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong,
totally.
but all I'm saying is, it's like in the future, it's almost to that point. You want them to have a signed, notarized contract because
Seriously.
the story's going to.
You know, that's
mean,
funny to mention that because now it's like it used to be guys were worried about putting on a condom to ruin the mood. Now it's like you got to put a condom on your dick, and then you got to basically put a condom on your thought. You know, the way you
put a
approach
condom
it.
on.
Hey,
a mask
hey,
on,
hold
some
on.
gloves.
Let me put this on first. And do you mind hitting accept on the consent to have sex? You know,
And then we have to wait for the
app?
notary to get here.
Seriously.
No,
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be all these obstructions to have sex. Yeah, you're right, guys. So, fuck, I don't want to have sex. It's too much work now. I just go and jerk off.
Oh no, free porn. It's ruined
Seriously.
society. But
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
like I said, everything needs to happen. Everything does happen for a reason, but it just has to be a sensible outcome at the end result. Like we were talking about earlier, 20 years ago, my stance on weed made me some sort of pariah. Today, I'd have my own show essentially.
Yeah, you'd be
So
hailed. Yeah,
yeah,
they'd be like, you know, David Harrison got busted for pot, and you'd be applauded. They'd be like,
yeah,
good for him.
I have sponsorships.
You would probably gain 10,000 followers for that reason alone.
Oh, easily. If they had Twitter the way it was, even throughout my suspension, I mean, I was banned from posting anything or speaking to the media. David
Facebook
Stern
was
didn't
pretty
like
much
me. It was
Facebook
brand
pretty
new
much,
at that time.
Yeah, that was pretty much the main one at the time.
Yeah, Stern didn't like me too much. It became personal between he and I, and you fight the law, you're going to lose, and that's another battle I wish I would have avoided. But at the same time, I felt justified. I felt justified, but I said, take some, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah, you got to pick and
I have
choose
to
your
get
battles
going
a bit.
here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have to
Man,
get going here pretty soon.
Okay, no worries. I'm glad we caught
Sorry
up. Man. I'm glad we did this. Hey, let's.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, this was fun.
No.
I had a good time.
No, Fridays are very open for me. Wednesdays normally are. Yesterday, I'm sorry about that. I got called up on a meeting.
No worries.
And then saw that I was doing it under the guise of the time zone, and I looked there. I'm like, okay, I'll be 15 minutes late. I was going to hit you, and I already saw I missed it by like an hour. So I apologize for that.
No worries. Yeah, I've got Cope coming on. He said just call him whenever. So, dude, I didn't expect to get the amount of guests. Like, I literally have been just contacting people. Have you? I can't say his name right now. He confirmed, like he said, he'll be on my show. He had a big radio show. He said he had a big radio show on Sirius, and then something fell, and he moved to podcast. But I can't. He said he's going to come on my show. I just sent him a message on Facebook or Instagram, and he replied.
You know what? I think a lot of, especially athletes, former athletes, it's great to have a venue to speak, and especially if you know the individual, you can catch up and reminisce. And just doing that live, recording it. I mean, there's other people, they have other fans that like them. I have probably 3 or 4 more fans that would like me. So, but yeah, like when you get Cope on, tell him I said hi. And
when you,
thank you
oh yeah, hey, before you go, like, besides, give out your Twitter handle, and you got Instagram, all those things, so people can.
I don't have Instagram, but my Twitter is David Harrison 13. I don't have Instagram. I don't really do Facebook. But yeah, I'm on Twitter a lot.
Yeah, I saw your tweet to Pete Nigerian yesterday. So
you should have bought. It went to the moon. It went to the moon. Went from $1.35 up to $9 that day.
Hooah!
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, dude. Well, it's good catching up, and I definitely want to do this again.
All right, definitely. Nice to talk to you.
Yes. See you, David.
See ya.